Tonight, I'm being joined by the Executive Governor of Kebbi State, the Chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, the APC Governors Forum, Senator Abubakar Bagudu. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight on the program. It's a pleasure having you. It's going to be a long conversation, but one that we hope that will help Nigerians understand some of the stands of government on the policies, especially from the one that we will start from, the issue of the anti-grazing law and the grazing routes. You're a member of that committee set up by the president, headed by the chief of staff. The question has been, why does a president, or why is the president looking in the direction of the grazing routes when I know in the Northern Governors Forum and the Governors Forum, you've agreed that ranching is the way to go. So why are we looking into the grazing routes?
Thank you, Sean, and thank you for having me. President, any president, particularly President Muhammadu Buhari, has a genuine interest in any issue that is causing conflict, that is causing misunderstanding. Thus, understandably, he approved the setup of a committee which is to identify grazing routes and to work with states and map them. It is not to trace grazing routes and recover them. It's to recognize the scale of the problem, because grazing reserves and grazing routes are deliberate efforts by governments before in recognizing that particular places need to be designated in order for grazing activity to take place. And this has happened as far back. The first laws were in 1965, the major, when we are even in regions rather than states. So, but combination of urbanization, combination of changes in land use, creation of states have affected the grazing reserves, have affected the existence of grazing routes, to the extent that no one today can authoritatively say this is the scale of this problem. And this problem is causing conflict. States, different states have different legislations about grazing route and other issues that needs to be compiled and understood, so that whether it is government that need to support infrastructure build-up to support the reduction in movement, you need to know where to put the infrastructure, so that when a state government even say, I need support to help with the my herding community, their legislation can be understood and say, hey, your legislation does not support this. So Mr. President is interested in an audit, so to say, of do we really have this, how much of these grazing reserves are there? How much of encouragement has taken place over the years? It is a voluntary and collaborative thing with the state. It's the states giving information on what the situation is in their states, what their laws are, so that this can help forge better understanding. Do we have reserves? People speak about, oh, we have spoken about ranching. Yes, what is a ranch? Ranching does not take place in air. It takes place on a piece of land. Ranches are as big as reserves, grazing reserves. In some countries, Australia, ranches, some ranches are bigger than many Nigerian states. So we are not talking about, we are talking about then how do you know what is available, what can be supported to host those roving herding community who needs help to modernize. And that is why even before the committee, there is a national livestock transformation plan. So this process will accelerate and help the identification of what is available that can support the national livestock transformation plan, and is ably headed by the Chief of Staff to Mr. President, Professor Gambari, with ministers, two governors, the governor of Ebonyi, who chairs the National Livestock Transformation Plan, with the Deputy Chief of Staff to Mr. President, and ministers of water resources, environment, and agriculture.
So, when we see the kind of energy and the resources that the president is putting into it, human or material resources, and as soon as the president made an announcement, and I understand that there are collaborations with about 25 states, and possibility what stakeholders want, the question is that, do we need that kind of energy when the governors have said, except if I'm getting the information coming from the Governors Forum or the Northern Governors Forum wrong, but the governors had clearly stated that they want ranching. So why look in the way? Because the conversation around the issue of go and map this grazing route.
What do you understand by ranching? Maybe we should start from there.
Absolutely. Maybe Nigerians can understand. I mean, are you in that practice? Are you from the culture where we have nomadic headers? Do you understand?
Yeah.
Are you from that culture?
Yes.
Does it still exist in Kebbi, for example?
It does.
Is it still necessary in this age and time?
There is need for modernization. That has been established. Farming practices, livestock management practices, fishing practices needs to change with time. We need to support all these communities to get a better income from their activity, so that we remove drudgery from them. Livestock is not an exception. So modernization is something that there is a shared public interest to help those engaged in this activity modernize. And that's why I say, let's understand, so that we are not using terminology wrongly. Whether we call it ranching, ranching requires designated pieces of land and mechanism of assessing those lands.
A confined place where the animals can be put in one place. Is that right?
But mind you, that's why I gave you the example of countries, Australia, US, UK, where a typical ranch can be 2,000 square kilometers, 10,000 square kilometers. You don't simply have the resources to fence it. Or rather, it requires a huge amount of resources to fence. It can be small, it can be big. So let's be very clear that whatever term we use, what we are saying is that there is need for identified, recognized places where this activity can take place, which will not interfere with other activities, particularly farming. Sometimes the ranch may host some farming activity within the ranch itself to support the growth that will be used by the animals. Sometimes not. Remember, look at the evolution of this. Most people start out as, I have a little bit, I have a farm, I have domestic animals. I use the waste from my farm and so on and so forth, and it escalates. Or rather, I have a farm, I have a neighbor who has animals who can manure my farm. Then chemical fertilizer came about, it disrupted that. If you go to any country in the world, UK, for example, even with their limited land mass, a lot of land is still used. It is still used jointly to house animals and to also graze them openly. But maybe courtesy of an article by Tope Ajayi in the Kabul newspapers recently, he refreshed our memory about a farming practice, cattle farming practice survey in the UK, where he said that about 87% of farmers in the UK still use combination of housing and open grazing. And about another 34% of them use rent other farms in order for their cattle to graze. So this is an evolutionary process that has taken years to. There have been times when the nomad, the cattle herder, is welcomed by the farmer who is looking for manure on his land. Now maybe not necessary again because of the advent of chemical fertilizer. It used to be a harmonious relationship. That explains, for example, why one of what sociologists describe as an institutionalized joking relationship, one of the longest standing institutionalized joking relationship between Tibis and Fulanis, because there was a time when the most proud friendship of a Tibi farmer is a Fulani who will come and manure, but that can no longer take place. So we need to support both the Tibi farmer and the Fulanis to recognize change and deal with it.
All right, because the energy, again, I mentioned energy and the resources that is being put into these, and which is causing a lot of suspicion. Some had argued that animal husbandry is a business endeavor.
Yes.
Just like any other business in the country.
Yes.
So why is this taking the federal government a special attention? I mean, to focus on giving a particular or a special subvention or a special attention to a certain set of people in trying to make their trade function very well?
Good. Sheun, I've said shared public interest. We have interest historically to make our farmers do better. That's why we have all kind of fund programs, extension services, so that our farmers can do better. And it's a desirable public goal. It's not whether it is, you can argue that farming is a private business, but there's a public interest to ensure that those farmers are supported to do better so that they can generate more income and take care of their families and lead otherwise better lives. So historically, we have invested more in the farming sector to the disadvantage of both fishing and the animal husbandry. So maybe it's not energy, it's recognition that, hey, hang on, we haven't done as well in this sector.
Maybe because also again, Governor, he has gone, it's had a security dimension.
Can I finish?
Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to help your thought.
And maybe we realize that we could have done also better for this class, because maybe we have not been mindful that in state creation, in urbanization, land or process that is being used in this industry is changing. And to help modernize so that Nigeria can benefit, Nigeria can generate more value from this important sector, we need to do more for the sector. And more so, now it's even linked to a security issue, thus bringing out more sense of urgency in doing so. So yes, but it's a private industry, but there is a public interest to support those in our private industry. If we can support those in the banking sector with 5 trillion to save the banks from collapsing, I don't think we are doing any disservice. We are doing more service to support our farmers, support millions in the animal husbandry sector, and support our fishing communities as well.
Are you worried that this also has some ethnic undertone?
Regrettably, and maybe stripped of that ethnic undertone, you and I can help contribute to solution better. Because Nigeria is a country where everyone should be free to live wherever he chooses to live. I have in my state people, I have Kebi Yorubas, I have Kebi Igbos, and that's good. You and I today, maybe Channel's station is sitting on a land that maybe 50 years ago belonged to a Bwari farmer, and today we don't even know where he or she is, because legislation and land and federation had allowed us to move into Abuja, build homes, build hotels, build offices, and that's a federation. And we are proud to be residents of Abuja, irrespective of our ethnicity. So for that reason, any ethnicity should be able to live in any community within the rules of the community. And I have been to Ogun about 4 months ago on this issue. And one of the Kabias spoke eloquently. He said, the Fulanis have been living with us for 200 years. And we have been living together very well. But the land is no longer enough for both of us. That's what we need to understand, that the land is no longer enough for all of us to do things the way we used to do them. So how do we support all activities to modernize, to generate value so that those in them can contribute to national output more, and then the conflict-causing behavior can be eliminated. Equally, I was in Ondo State. Governor Akeredolu was there with us when one of the Fulani leaders spoke. He said that his Yoruba is more eloquent than his, because there are Yorubas in my state that can speak Hausa. Some of them can even speak Fulani. I can't. Some of them can speak Fulani. So that's our nation, and that's something for us to be proud of.
I mean, one of the worries here is the security dimension this conversation has taken. And those who have drawn the conversation that, look, maybe the leader of the country is also of the Fulani stock, ethnic stock. And for example, Governor Autumn as being a very, very prominent critic of that particular conversation, I mean, that issue. And said, look, maybe the president should have spoken better or spoken up on what has become a rampant and a ravaging killer herders who go under the shadow of herdsmen and go into communities, farming communities, and kill, maim, destroy farmlands, and kidnap students, and then it's now being tagged banditry in some parts of the country. And this is the worry. I'd like to get your comment on your colleague Governor Autumn's view.
It's regrettable and condemnable that we have any killer herdman and person, and we must mobilize as a populace to confront that evil. And the president has given us the wherewithal. The president has gone. There was once when the president was quoted as saying that everyone found with an AK-47 should be shot. And the media criticized him on that. So you can't be more angry, more energetic about your upset about a situation. Secondly, Governor Autumn, in all due respect, is mischaracterizing the challenge. I happen to be people who are conversant with Benue State knows that there are a number of challenges that have been regrettably affecting Benue State historically. Like many states, there is a conflict in Benue State between people in Ado local government and Ohaku in Ebonyi. Every year it kills people. There is a conflict between the Jukuns in Taraba and Tibis. There is a conflict between the Agwatus and the Nasarawa Egon in Nasarawa State. There are other localized conflicts. Then there is a cattle farmer clashes. So to simplify all these historical conflicts that are impacting regrettably and affecting Benue State may be too simplistic and missing the issue. Secondly, I was privileged in 2014 to be a part of a Senate delegation led by Senator Mohammed Mogoro, who was then chairing the Senate Committee on Intelligence. I was then chairing the Senate Committee on Interior. There was chairman of Senator the chairman of the Senate Committee on the Army from Rivers State, and another chairman of the Senate Committee on Police, Paulinus Igwe, I think, from Ebonyi State. We were mandated because at that time the Senate under Senator David Mark, was concerned that in 6 states outside the Northeast, Benue, Nasarawa, Plateau, Kaduna, Katsina, and Zamfara, food production was being threatened by conflict. And we visited Benue, among others, and we interacted with Benue elders. I remember that night Paul Unongo spoke, and he spoke about these 5 in Benue State. Equally, I am friend to Governor Suswan. He was attacked sometimes again in 2014, and I was in Benue to commiserate with him. He was not attacked. He told us he was not attacked by Fulani herdsmen. I was at a book launch by Professor Mabendega Jibo in Makurdi, where I was chief launcher to one of his books, Ethnic Conflicts. And he described how historically there are so many conflicts, which is a combination of this. So for Governor of Trump to simplify these problems as just problems between or instigated in the last 6 years of President Muhammadu Buhari, I think is uncharitable or even condemnable.
All right. Let's take a breather, Governor.
Thank you.
Well, there is more to talk about the solutions to the problems, because not only talking about the problems, we need to talk about the way out of these problems. And we get the benefit of your experience as a sitting governor, a former lawmaker, and the chairman of the APC Governors Forum. Senator Bagudu is still with us on the program. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back after this timeout. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on Politics Today on China's television. Senator Abubakar Bagudu, the governor of Kebbi State and the chairman of the APC Governors Forum, is popularly called the Progressive Governors Forum, is our guest tonight on the program. And we've been talking about the way forward in this very touchy issue of anti-grazing law, the grazing routes, and the farmer herders clashes and the banditry that we're seeing in some part of the northwest region of the country. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your time today. One of the issues raised by Governor Autumn is in the manner in which the clashes between the herders and farmers are being handled. He's not satisfied about it. And one of the things that he also said is the tagging, the name tags that are being given to these issues. And the questions have been raised severally. How difficult is it to tag these bandits, these killers, terrorists? Is it difficult to tag them as terrorists?
It shouldn't be. And like I said, for a president who say, if somebody is found with an AK-47, take him up, take him on, it shows that whatever limitation is not from the president. And so again, it relates to the wider challenge. Because of limitation of resources, maybe we don't have enough resources to do what we need to do to handle this situation. And this is also affected by other regional and criminal crime issues. And it can be worsened by this misunderstanding, because if political leaders can be sincere in that, look, this is a conflict, this is a challenge that we need to support each other and take on frontally and holistically, then we can make better progress. And I've seen that across a number of states. But regrettably, when seemingly politics is being played with it, then it masks the challenge, or it even makes it impossible to address, like I believe Governor Otto is regrettably doing.
Should the federal government declare these bandits terrorists?
I believe whoever in an organized manner is holding arms and terrorizing people should be declared a terrorist.
How fast or how soon should that be?
That's why I say we need to all involve, we need to talk to our legislatures collectively to say, what are you doing? Look at the legislation. Look at the challenge. Tinker with the law. We need more. We need to talk more. We don't simplify it by just dumping it on Mr. President. Why are we in a democracy?
People will argue that it didn't take the legislature for President Jonathan to declare Boko Haram terrorist. It did not take the legislature for President Buhari.
No, there has been. I was in the Senate, and there were maybe every week there were motions on Boko Haram every week, and I believe that public pressure, because you want punish behavior, and we are right to seek to punish that behavior. But we need public debate to enlighten so that we know that this is the behavior we are targeting, and representatives of communities need to participate in that debate.
So, but the argument is the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, tagged Boko Haram terrorists, a terrorist organization,
yes,
and the world saw it as such.
Yes.
The federal government, under the president Muhammadu Buhari, tagged IPOB,
yes,
a terrorist organization. Yes. And so that's the thinking, that
yes,
how difficult will it be for this same government to tag the bandits to terrorists?
Well, but that's the problem. IPOB is a group of people who declared an organization, like Boko Haram, with a recognized, or rather with claimed leadership. And so, which I support, like I said, I support the idea of tagging anybody who is holding ammunition in an organized manner and terrorizing people, a terrorist. But we need to say, who are we, whatever we call them, and that process is it's a process that needs everyone to get involved. And that's why we have representatives, so that they can force a debate, so that we can be clear. The drafting can be clear. And I'm sure President Buhari will not hesitate to sign any legislation or to even introduce it if there's clarity. But this clarity has to be supported.
In your proximity of relationship, I mean, now with President Buhari, what is his thinking about these Fulani killers, herders, who have turned themselves into a menace in our society? Is he worried about it? What is he thinking about it? Many Nigerians perhaps don't know. Can you tell us?
President Buhari is very, very angry at any person who is committing a crime, talk less of terrorizing, maiming, kidnapping, irrespective of whether he's Fulani or not. And he has instructed service chiefs severally, and that has been in the presence, he has repeated that with us, and we know, we have heard from the service chief, he has instructed them severally to take the harshest measures against those people.
Banditry as a phenomenon has been around for a while in this country, and we've seen them, I mean, cattle rustling, these bandits come. But why have they looked more emboldened under this government?
Sean, I wouldn't say that the more emboldened under this government, because mutation of crimes, sometimes different crime forms come together at a particular time, because the ease of arms, maybe from Libya or whatever, and then the insurgency in other parts of West Africa has provided opportunities for more arms to flow into Nigeria, which were not there before. Criminal groups are now able to collaborate more. And because they are able to collaborate more, we see that transformation in the crime form, and therefore it takes a new order. What used to be today, just like you said, I mean, what used to be a cattle farmer straying into a farmland, and the community has a conflict resolution mechanism to handle that, today has become more complicated. And
so let's look at some of the solutions that have been proffered by several governors. The governor of Sokoto yesterday, the governor of Katsina, Governor Masari, 2 days ago, they've come up with executive orders banning movement of cattle in trucks, movement on some highways. These executive orders are signed. Are you in support of such moves?
I'm supporting any move, temporary or permanent, that can help solve the security problem, that can draw attention and also help us as a people to support those people who are in those occupations legitimately and who are caught up or who are also victims. I have met with many Fulani communities in my state who explain that they are the first victims of kidnapping.
The Fulanis?
Yes, and cattle rustling. It's easier for a drunk child, somebody who's abusing drunk, to go to a community where there's no road, there's no police, there's no infrastructure, to kidnap his cousin, his sister, and demand for cattle to be sold for him to be given money. So they are the major victims of kidnapping. And then the wider kidnapping that is conducted by, among others, Fulanis and non-Fulanis who have come to form criminal gangs. Equally, cattle rustling. Cattle rustling is an activity that is against people who move cattle or who own cattle. And a lot of Fulanis are naturally victims, and they are pauperized by it. So we don't even hear their story. We don't hear their side. We just think, oh, they are complicit. They are not. Majority of them are peaceful, decent people seeking to make a living.
Well, I mean, at some point, people will say, I mean, the Fulani herders that we know, were the stick-bearing herders.
Yes.
At some point, we now see AK-47 bearing herders.
Yes, shown, and that's why I say we need to be more open in discussing this, so that we can really. One of the interesting things that was said to Governor Akeredolu when we went to commiserate and support him in the issue in Ondo State, the Fulani leadership whom he had met with before our arrival, and that is what even caused the public outcry, said that, look, some of us have been leasing places in the forest, in the government area, because it's legitimate to go in and take a hectare or two and live. And some of them have been living there for years, for decades, paying their dues legitimately. The government knows of their existence. They said they reported to him that they have been seeing strange newcomers in the forest, and they are not introduced to them. And it was the decision, their offer to support the government in removing those strange newcomers, that was reported wrongly as Fulanis are being sent away from Ondo State. So these are legitimate participants, legitimate people who are doing their business, who say, we saw some people.
You think we have been terribly infiltrated by foreigners?
I think there is a foreign element, because we are indistinguishable. I lived in Lagos where there are Togolese there, where there are Ghanaians there, where there are Cameroonians there, and inevitably, our crime pattern, particularly when carjacking was a serious issue, most of cars are allegedly taken to the neighboring countries. So, equally with the Fulanis, Nigeria is a big country. There is a Sahelian problem. Some of these Fulanis have been used, or their grandparents have been used to come into Nigeria to graze. But now they come, perchance some of them will join criminal gangs. And they will learn from also other local criminal gangs. And then that creates an explosion.
Some of the suggestions have been made, for example, from someone like the governor of Zamfara State, Governor Matawale, is that the president should declare a state of emergency on the issue of security, especially in the northwestern region of the country. Do you think that is a possible solution?
You know, there was this debate again during President Jonathan's era. What do we mean by state of emergency? Because President Jonathan once declared some local governments in Borno State, declared state of emergency, which to the extent that it will help security agencies are advising, I believe the security agencies should lead in the advice. What do they think? If they think imposing of emergency over an area, over the whole state, so be it, so that we can deal with these problems conclusively.
I'm asking for solutions now because that is the way everybody should be thinking to get out of this doldrum. Governor Masari also, I'm making reference now to people who have spoken, and I wanted to get your view, and as a governor also, you have an idea. He said that people should defend themselves. Would you suggest such an idea too? Is that a possible solution?
I don't know what he meant by people should defend themselves, because in any case, we have the collective interest to be vigilant, to support security agencies, also to support them in such a way that they will function more effectively. We have from guards in our communities, from vigilantes, from different community policing organs. We are increasingly having cooperative and community-driven support to do more, and I believe that's a good that's a good evolution.
So you're supporting also that every citizen should be ready to defend themselves should there is an imminent attack, especially from these bandits.
I believe that we should, as a people in all our communities, be more vigilant and be ready to help the security agencies in whatever way they call upon us to do. We can't be
not bearing arms.
No, I'm not suggesting the bearing of arms.
What would be the biggest solution that you'll be giving Nigerians on this issue of banditry and this killing spree that we've seen?
There's a big resource problem. We are a country of about 210 million people, even in spite of prudent financial management, even in spite of the money, the resources available to do everything is limited as a proportion of our size. And because of that, there has been decades of underinvestment in security. There has been decades of underinvestment in infrastructure that can help eliminate or support the elimination of these crimes. So we need to support government more. What do I mean underinvestment? Brazil is a country of about 210 million, slightly, maybe more, just about the size of Nigeria in terms of population. But Brazil's federal budget is over $650 billion. Our federal budget is under $30 billion. So maybe last year was good, this year was good, we have 33 to 35 billion dollars federal budget. So definitely we are not doing enough. So we are not funding security enough. We are not funding, we need resources to invest more in the farmers. We need more resources to invest more in the animal husbandry sector and in the fishing sector, so that all those participants can do more and earn better livelihood and support themselves and conflict-causing behavior. Of course, in the last 6 years, a lot has been done by President Muhammadu Buhari as directed, and the central bank has pumped in more money. But we need, particularly you people with the bigger voice, needs to call attention that we need quantums of money, and we should support government in its effort or in any effort to raise those quantums of money for modernization.
As we wrap up now, I need your quick interventions on a couple of issues because of the limited time that we have left. The first one is the banning of cattle transportation across the region by the southern governors. Do you support it?
I don't think southern governors have called for the banning.
They said that the movement of cattle from the to the southern region.
We have always been a nation of laws. Even when farmers and nomads were moving animals across the country, there was a clear understanding that your cattle should not graze in somebody's farmland. And if you do, there should be consequence. That states are saying we are doing anti-grazing laws now does not suggest that in the past it was okay for you to stray in somebody's farm and destroy it. Maybe the conflict resolution mechanism that exists is weak, and therefore, understandably, legislation should improve with time. And
perhaps finally, you are the vice chairman of the National Food Security Council.
Yes.
There is an existential threat on food production in Nigeria, and there are fears about the issue of availability of food. Do you see this, and what is the solution?
Well, the existential threat is very, very harsh word to use because
the farming communities have been attacked. They cannot go to their farms.
Yes, regrettably, but more progress has been made. A lot of people in Borno State, for example, have returned to their communities, and from what the governor is telling us, we are looking at a bumper harvest, more than any that has been seen in the last 10 years. In other communities have improved, have expanded production. The availability of financing support, anchor borrower support, interventions by homeschool feeding program has mobilized production, and farmers are increasingly recording higher yields, which is compensating for the security-related challenge.
All right, we need to close now. I understand that we have just about 40 seconds, but I'll take you to politics and quickly. Where do you think the presidency should be zoned in 2023?
From Nigeria.
Of course, in Nigeria. After President Buhari, where is your party zoning it?
We will get a progressive who will continue with President Buhari's ideals.
Do you think that Nigerians still support your party?
Oh yes.
That came with a lot.
Oh yes. We have 3 governors that joined. We have Senate. The National Assembly has expanded with APC members. House of Reps has expanded. Former this, former that, and more ordinary Nigerians are finding that after all, we are being sold. This President Buhari is a good leader, and will continue to support him and his party.
Your name has been mentioned in some quarters, perhaps for president in 2023. How true is that?
No, it's not correct. that I can tell you is not correct.
But will the presidency go to the north for the APC?
The APC will work hard to ensure that we produce a presidential candidate that will continue in the ideals of President Buhari, that will be supported by all Nigerians.
And that will be from the south or from the north?
He will be a Nigerian, definitely. Thank you.
Governor Abubakar Bagudu, Governor of Kebbi State, and the chairman of the APC Governors Forum, the vice chairman of the National Food Security Council, talking to us about some of these very important issues. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sean.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
But that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimbale. Bye-bye.